Hey guys, it's JP, and I'm going to talk about how you can use the same exercise for different gains, so you can tailor your exercises on your needs to run faster. Now, previously I have been showing you different exercises for different intentions. This time, I want to switch it up, and I'll show you the same exercise to accomplish different goals. Now, before you get into doing an exercise, you first need to understand your needs and goals to improve your running performance. This is why it may be more important on understanding your intention for using an exercise rather than the actual exercise itself. Based on this, you can modify different variables such as the load or weight and tempo or speed, so you can work on different things. So now, let's go over a few things you can focus on. One thing you can do is oxidative training. This is more about improving your energy levels of your body as a whole system, so you can last longer during activities. This may be important to consider, especially for long distance runners, as this involves sustained periods of activity. Another is strength. This term is thrown out a lot with a vague definition. In this sense, this is a way for you to improve capacity to produce force. This is important to consider as your muscles are subject to plenty of forces during running. A third focus is power or rate of force development. This is more about being able to reduce the force quickly. While people think this is just for sprinters, this also includes long distance runners. This is because the activity of running itself involves quick firing of the muscles regardless of the race. Now, there are other focuses, but I want to stick to these three to keep it simple. The next thing we will do is apply these concepts and show you an example of how this can be done through just using the split squat. First, what we will go over is the split squat with an oxidative focus. I won't go hard into the specifics with this one, but what this basically involves is more light load that is time-based. For this specific example, this involves just slow and controlled body weight split squats that are performed for 30 seconds, then resting for 30 seconds. Now, the specific parameters of this will differ depending on the specific individual. One thing to note though, is to try to keep it smooth with no pauses at the top or bottom. This makes the body work more from an oxidative perspective. Now, let's look at what you could do with the split squat if the focus was more geared towards strength gains. To make this more strength-based, you'll need a more relatively heavy effort load. You can do this by simply adding weight. Remember, perceived load is relative and is based on the individual. In this example, you want to incorporate weights to the point where this makes this person work hard. A rule of thumb is that I try to make it difficult enough where the person cannot perform more than 20 repetitions before failure or are unable to do more. The reason for this is because you may be working more toward an oxidative approach rather than a strength-based one if you go over this amount. Now, a typical example of this one would be performing the split squat at a relatively heavy load where she can just perform about 5 before failure. Then she performs this for 5 reps 5 times with about a 1 minute and 30 second break in between. Next, we can take it up a level and work on power or rate of force development. To work more toward this, velocity is key here. The intent is to move fast here. Remember, just because you are trying to do it fast doesn't mean you could slack on form or technique. Now, compared to when working on strength, you may need to drop the weight as seen here. The reason for this is because using too heavy of a weight may actually slow down your movements. The movement needs to be fast to get the gains from this type of focus. For example, in this case, we had her doing this with body weight, but performing this as fast as possible. A typical workout using this exercise could include performing this for 5 repetitions 4 times with a 2-minute break in between. The reason for this longer break is because when you do this exercise, you want to recover fully so you can perform it at that max velocity and get the gains for power. Now, we technically just went over the 3 different focuses, but just for fun, we will take it up one more level. Since running involves constant energy storage and release, I will show you guys a variation focused on explosiveness and plyometrics. To do this, you can modify the split squat into the split squat jump. I know I cheated here a bit, but I just want to show you guys another progression if you want to take it up another level and move towards explosiveness or plyometrics. When doing this, the focus is doing this as quickly and as high as possible. Similar to the last one, you can follow something like 4x4 repetitions for 2-minute rest breaks as long as form, velocity, and the height of the jumps are not compromised. And that's all for this video. I know I covered these topics very briefly, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Also, special shout out to Scott Morrison, since this was heavily inspired by him. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts and anything else you'd like me to go over. And as always, thank you for watching.